Picture this for a second. A world completely stripped of recorded music. No albums, no playlists, no voices echoing through the decades. Now imagine the mind that actually prevented that silent reality from happening. A mind that not only gave the world its voice, but also helped it take flight. This is an epic explainer of unparalleled invention, ruthless corporate erasure, and a triumphant return from the absolute brink of obscurity.
So what if the man who literally invented the music industry, the absolute foundation of mass audio as we know it today, was systematically erased from its crowning moments? You know, we all know Thomas Edison, we all know Alexander Graham Bell, but what about the immigrant visionary who actually made their iconic machines practical, only to be banished from his own life's work?
Well, this is Hits, history's inspiring tales. Today, we're diving into an explainer on the remarkable life of the man who literally gave the world its voice, Emile Berliner. And hey, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel because we are about to unpack a historical narrative that plays out just like a Hollywood thriller.
All right, let's get into this. This 1887 gramophone patent represents a massive shift in human history. Before this piece of paper, sound was, well, ephemeral. Or, at best, it was trapped on these fragile little cylinders that couldn't easily be copied. This document right here is the genesis of the flat disk record. But to really understand how Berliner got to this point, we have to rewind to his remarkably humble beginnings.
Section 1. Fixing the telephone.
Our story actually kicks off not with music, but with a pretty desperate need to communicate across long distances. Born in Hanover, Germany, Emile Berliner was a young merchant who bolted to the United States in 1870 just to dodge the draft for the Franco-Prussian War. He worked all kinds of odd jobs, a paper route, cleaning bottles, and eventually landing a gig as a cleanup man in a chemical laboratory. And that job, it totally ignited his passion for science. Fast forward to 1876. He's attending the American Centennial in Washington, and he lays eyes on Alexander Graham Bell's brand new telephone. It was a marvel, for sure. But as Berliner noticed almost instantly, it was incredibly flawed. You essentially had to shout into this bulky box, and the signal just completely faded out over a distance.
Berliner spotted the issue right away. Bell's transmitter was just too faint and clunky. Working out of his rented room, which is wild to think about, Berliner used his self-taught physics knowledge to invent a loose-contact metal transmitter. By using variable resistance generated by varying pressure, he essentially built an early microphone, and this vastly amplified the volume and range of the telephone. When Bell's company caught wind of this, they were in a full-blown panic. They desperately needed this fix to save their failing system, so they hired Berliner on the spot and bought the rights to his invention for a staggering $50,000. I mean, that was an absolute fortune back then.
Section 2. Disk versus cylinder. So, after practically saving Bell's telephone, Berliner sets his sights on Thomas Edison's phonograph. And the format war that followed, it literally came down to pure physics. Edison was super stubborn about using a cylinder. The problem there, geometrically speaking, is that as a cylinder's stylus travels along, if the speed isn't perfectly calibrated, the frequency response just drops off. Edison's hill and dale, up and down carving method, was seriously limited. Berliner, on the flip side, realized the cylinder was fundamentally flawed for mass consumption, so he developed the flat disk. His needle didn't bounce up and down, it wobbled side to side, laterally, and that meant uniform depth, constant audio fidelity, and a much more durable medium.
This specific patent specification legally documents the exact second Berliner solved the puzzle that totally stumped Edison. Berliner writes about recording sound without perceptible friction, maintaining a uniform resistance for all those vibrations. He changed the entire paradigm from a vertical cut to a lateral, side-to-side cut. But the real game changer wasn't just the bump in sound quality.
The true, absolute genius of Berliner's vision was mass manufacturing. You see, with a cylinder, Edison essentially needed musicians to play a song over and over and over again just to make multiple copies. Talk about exhausting and wildly expensive. Berliner's flat disk changed the whole shebang. He could record into soft wax, electroplate it to create a hard inverted metal stamper, and then literally press thousands of exact copies into hard shellac. He didn't just invent a better record player here, he invented the modern music industry's entire distribution model.
Section 3. Betrayal and Exile.
Now you'd think this monumental triumph made Berliner an untouchable titan, right?
Well, this is where we hit a massive gap in the historical record. If you look at a lot of tech history explainer videos on YouTube, they often frame this as just a simple format war. The flat disk was technologically better, so it naturally beat Edison's cylinder. But when we dig into deeper historical web archives, a much darker reality pops up. It wasn't just a polite debate over technology. It was a vicious, cutthroat corporate war that very nearly destroyed Berliner.
The devastating knockout punch didn't even come from Edison. It came from inside Berliner's own camp. Berliner had partnered with a marketer named Frank Seaman to sell the Gramophone, but Seaman was ruthless. He secretly made a backdoor agreement with a rival company, Columbia, to produce a knockoff machine called the Zonophone, and when Berliner protested this blatant theft, Seaman orchestrated a legal injunction against him. In an unbelievable twist of legal maneuvering, Berliner was literally banned from selling his own invention in the United States.
Can you even imagine the devastation? Stripped of his rights in the country he had adopted as his own, watching corporate sharks hijack his life's crowning achievement? Most people would have just thrown in the towel right then and there. Not Berliner. He packed up his family, gathered his equipment in pure disgust, and crossed the border up to Montreal, Canada, to rebuild his entire empire from scratch.
Section 4. Flight and Public Health.
So, exile definitely wasn't the end of the road for Emile Berliner. It was actually the start of an unbelievable third act. Up in Montreal, his business absolutely exploded. By 1901, he had sold 2 million records in Canada alone. That famous logo of Nipper the dog listening to his master's voice, yeah, that became a global icon under his watch. But once his financial stability was totally secured, Berliner's restless genius shifted completely away from music. He started looking upward to the skies and inward to the health of his community. He got totally fascinated with vertical flight. Between 1908 and the 1920s, Emile and his son Henry designed and built early lightweight radial engines and literally some of the world's first successful coaxial helicopters. Long before helicopters were an everyday reality, Berliner's machines were lifting men off the ground for the U.S. Navy. He took his deep, fundamental understanding of engineering and rotation from the tiny grooves of a flat disk right up to the spinning blades of an aircraft.
But honestly, his most profound legacy might have been born from a deep, unimaginable personal tragedy. After losing his own infant daughter to a gastrointestinal illness caused by unpasteurized milk, Berliner became a relentless advocate for public health. He founded the Society for the Prevention of Sickness, and using his influence and strict scientific rigor, he led a massive crusade to enforce the scalding and pasteurization of milk. It was a campaign that fundamentally changed health standards in North America and saved countless children from the horrific 30% child mortality rate of that era.
Section 5. The Forgotten Genius. It really makes us question the whole nature of legacy, doesn't it? Why are names like Bell and Edison hammered into our textbooks, while the guy who fixed their machines, the man who actually built the mass music industry, pioneered vertical flight, and saved millions of kids from tainted milk, remains a footnote to the general public? Berliner preferred a quiet life. He didn't chase the spotlight like his famous contemporaries did. And that forces us to wonder, does true historical genius require ruthless self-promotion, or is leaving the world fundamentally better than you found it enough of a reward? If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a dose of inspiration, and don't forget to subscribe to Hits for more tales of human ingenuity. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep believing in the power of your own persistence.